If hell had a dress code, it would probably look exactly like my ex's wedding. The champagne was bottomless. The flowers cost more than my rent. And every guest seemed to be staring straight through me, like I was a ghost who hadn't gotten the memo. That's when Ryan slid his hand into mine, smooth as if we had been doing this for years. "Smile," he whispered, leaning in close enough for his breath to brush against my ear. "You look like you're about to bolt." I almost did. Ryan wasn't my boyfriend. He wasn't even someone I'd call more than a friend on a good day. But in a moment of whiskey-induced desperation, I had begged him to play the Rolamy +1. My new love. The shield between me and the ex who once swore forever. And now here we were, standing in the middle of a glittering ballroom in downtown Chicago, his thumb tracing lazy circles over my knuckles, convincing the world that I wasn't here to watch the person I thought I'd marry promise eternity to someone else. "You owe me for this," Ryan muttered, his smirk betraying the seriousness of his words. "I'm already paying with my dignity." I shot back, forcing my lips into a smile so wide it hurt. The truth was, Ryan looked like he belonged in the setting, broad shoulders filling out his tailored suit, dark eyes catching the amber glow of chandeliers overhead. He was magnetic in ways I had spent years ignoring, because to acknowledge them meant opening a door I had firmly nailed shut. But tonight, with his arm around my waist, he wasn't giving me much of a choice. Across the room, my ex-Ethan locked eyes with me. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. He looked devastatingly happy in his crisp white tux, his hand resting so naturally on his new husband's back. My chest tightened with the kind of ache I thought I had buried months ago. Ryan must have noticed, because his arm tightened around me, pulling me subtly closer until my shoulder brushed against his. "Don't," he said quietly, almost like an order. "Don't what?" "Don't let him see you break. That's why I'm here." His voice softened then, threaded with something that felt almost protective. "Look at me instead." So I did. And for the first time all night, the world blurred out. Ryan's gaze held me steady, grounding me when I wanted nothing more than to disappear into the polished parquet floor. The pretense of us being together wasn't just convincing the crowd, it was convincing me. The band struck up a Sinatra classic, and couples began swaying across the dance floor. I should have declined when Ryan offered his hand. But instead, I found myself being pulled into the rhythm. His hand pressed against the small of my back, firm and steady, guiding me effortlessly through the steps. "Relax," he teased. "I've got you." I wanted to laugh, but the sound caught in my throat. Because in that moment, he did have me, more than I wanted to admit. My chest brushed against his, our movements syncing in a way that felt too natural for two people pretending. He smelled faintly of cedarwood and the whiskey we had downed in the car before walking in. And for a brief, dangerous second, I let myself lean in. Ryan tilted his head, his lips hovering just a little too close to mine. "You know," he murmured, "for a fake boyfriend, I think I'm doing a pretty convincing job." "Don't get cocky," I whispered back, though my pulse was betraying me. "You're the one holding me like I'm your lifeline," he said with a low chuckle. I hated how right he was. The song ended, and applause rippled through the hall. I stepped back, suddenly aware of how tightly I had been holding on to him. Ryan didn't let go immediately. His fingers lingered at my waist, his thumb brushing once before falling away. I told myself it was just part of the act. Just survival. Nothing more. But deep down, I knew I was lying. Later, when Ethan and his husband cut the cake, Ryan leaned close again, lips almost brushing my temple. "You're doing better than I expected," he said. Proud of you. The words hit harder than they should have. Because no one else had said that to Mennett when Ethan left. Not when I spent months stitching myself back together. Not when I forced myself to RSVP to this goddamn wedding. And maybe that was the moment something shifted. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like I was being pulled to the surface. The night after the wedding was supposed to feel like freedom. Instead, it felt like I had been carrying a weight all evening. And Ryan was the only thing keeping me upright. We slipped out into the cool Chicago air. The muffled laughter of guests still echoing behind us. I yanked off my tie, stuffing it into my pocket like I could erase the evidence of my humiliation. Ryan walked beside me, hands in his pockets, silent for once. Finally, he broke it. You survived, he said lightly, though his eyes softened when they met mine. Barely, I muttered. Watching Ethan, it was like watching someone else live the life I thought was mine. Ryan didn't argue. He just walked closer, his shoulder brushing mine. That small touch was enough to stop the trembling in my chest. We found a bench under a street lamp, the night humming faintly with the sound of distant traffic. I sat down, running a hand through my hair. Ryan followed, his knee knocking gently against mine. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was full, like there was too much to say and neither of us knew where to start. Finally, I whispered, "Thank you. For tonight. I know you didn't have to. I wanted to." Ryan interrupted, his tone sharper than I expected. His jaw flexed before he looked away, like he had said too much. I stared at him, my heart kicking hard. Why? Ryan laughed once, humorless. You really don't see it, do you? My throat went dry. See what? That I don't mind holding your hand, or putting my arm around you. That pretending doesn't feel like pretending for me. His voice was low, raw, every word chipping away at the walls I had built. I've been trying to be your friend because that's what you needed. But watching you tonight, watching you torture yourself, God. I wanted to tell you 100 times that you don't need him anymore. You've got someone who actually wants to stay. The world tilted. I had spent months convincing myself Ryan was just safe territory. A distraction. A lifeline in the middle of heartbreak. But the way his voice cracked, the way his eyes burned like he was bearing everything he haughty realized I had been blind. Ryan, my voice broke. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the ground. You don't have to say anything. I know you're still healing. I know this might be the worst timing in the world. But I couldn't keep pretending tonight without telling you the truth. Because every second I touched you, felt like I was finally allowed to breathe. I reached for him before I even realized it. My hand brushed his. Tentative. Testing. He didn't move. So I laced my fingers through his the way he had done earlier. And this time, it wasn't for show. Ryan looked up, startled. His eyes searched mine, desperate for something. And I gave it to him the only way I knew how. I leaned in, closing the space between us. The kiss wasn't perfect. It was hesitant, messy with months of confusion and grief. But it was real. Real in a way nothing had felt for so long. When we finally pulled apart, Ryan pressed his forehead against mine, laughing shakily. So much for pretending. I laughed too, though tears stung my eyes. Guess we're terrible actors. He squeezed my hand. Or maybe we've just been rehearsing for the real thing all along. For the first time since Ethan left, I felt something I hadn't let myself feel. Peace. Not because the past stopped hurting, but because the future suddenly didn't look so terrifying anymore. We sat there under the street lamp, Two fools who had faked their way into something real. The city moved on around Uskers rushing by. Laughter spilling from bars. Life continuing as it always did but for that moment. Felt like the world had slowed just for us. Ryan leaned back, stretching his arm along the back of the bench, pulling me against him with casual certainty. "So," he said, teasing again, "does this mean I get boyfriend privileges now? Like picking the Netflix shows and stealing your fries?" I rolled my eyes, smiling despite myself. "You've been stealing my fries for years." "Yeah." He grinned, tugging me closer. "But now I don't have to pretend I feel guilty about it." And just like that, the ache in my chest loosened. Because the truth was, this wasn't the ending I expected, but maybe it was the one I needed. Maybe love doesn't always look like forever with the first person you think you'll marry. Maybe sometimes it looks like a friend who steps in when you're at your lowest, holds your hand when you're breaking, and stays long enough for you to realize you were never acting at all. Ryan kissed the top of my head, and I let myself lean into him fully. No masks, no pretending, just us. For once, I wasn't haunted by what I had lost. I was finally ready to hold on to what I had found. And it was enough. More than enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.